Good evening. Welcome to the Wisdom Readings. My name is Savia Sachitas. I also go by the name Savia the Monk. Today I'm going to be reading from a very wonderful book. It is the Shrimad Bhagavatam. It's been produced as a separate little book, this fifth chapter of the fifth canto. It is called Spiritual Yoga. And it has instructions by a king. These days, we don't hear too much about kings. We're hearing about the king next door, and he's not doing very nice things at all. And here, Rishabhadev is about to give up power in his kingdom, and he wants to leave some instructions for his sons so they know how to protect the citizens and give them happiness, because the kings are called Kshatriyas. Kshat means hurt, and Triya means to free one from some condition of suffering. So the leaders, governments, monarchs are meant to protect people from suffering. And a deeper suffering is when people are separated from knowledge of self. And so he will kick off his instructions on the understanding of Atma, the self. And this word Atma is a recurring theme. Atma in different contexts refers to the body, sometimes to the mind, and in its ultimate sense to the soul. So welcome. Let us now put up the reading and we'll begin. We have a very nice book club, Books are the Basis book club, which runs every Thursday. And so whoever is watching, you're very much welcome to join us on these Thursdays at 7 as we read and dive into spiritual knowledge. We are currently reading the Krishna book. So before I start, I will chant invocation, which allows us to clear the ether, to beg for the blessings of the previous teachers, and to honor the source of all knowledge, the Supreme Person, Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Which means I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord who is pervading everything, Vasudeva. So this is chapter 5, Lord Rishabhadev's teachings to his sons. So Rishabhadev is explained to be a Shakti Avesh avatar. So a lot of Sanskrit there. Shakti means energy or potency. Avesh means one who's imbued with such. So he was imbued with the potency of the Supreme Lord to teach spiritual detachment and attachment to devotional life. You will see as we get into the chapter just how he lives. It is, as they say, far out. So chapter 5, this is a summary of this chapter. And feel free in the comments just to let me know your thoughts. If you have any questions, we'll tackle. And if you have watched our previous episodes and there's some things there that you wanted to clarify, I will try to serve those inquiries this evening. In this chapter, there's a description of Bhagavad Dharma, religious principles in devotional service that transcend religious principles for liberation and the mitigation of material misery. It is stated in this chapter that a human being should not work hard like dogs and hogs for sense gratification. The human life is especially meant for the revival of our relationship with the Supreme Lord. And to this end, all kinds of austerities and penances should be accepted. So Bhagavad Dharma. Bhagavat, Bhaga means opulences, Vad means the possessor of. So the possessor of all opulences is God. And Dharma means codes, codes of religion. You could say also laws or statutes that help a human being to rise in consciousness. So they're the codes of religion or the principles of religion that bring one to understanding the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan. So this chapter is focusing on that. All that we're hearing around that topic is to bring us to this point of how to rise to the understanding of pure devotional service to the Supreme. And human life is especially meant for this revival. Most of us, we understand life means, you study primary, high school, you try to get a job, you get a family, raise some children, and live some sort of a legacy. And at least by the time we pass away, we feel we must have covered a few material goals. But spiritual wisdom directs us beyond the achievements that are limited to this world. So there must be some achievement for the soul. And that achievement for the soul is beyond this body, is beyond death. And the whole human life is especially for reviving the relationship with the Supreme Lord. So by austere activities, one heart can be cleansed of material contamination. And as a result, one can be situated on the spiritual platform. To attain this perfection, one has to take shelter of a devotee and serve him. Then the door of liberation will be open. Those who are materially attached to women and sense gratification gradually become entangled in material consciousness and suffer the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death. Those who are engaged in the general welfare of all and who are not attached to children and family are called Mahatmas. So we have to explain this segment because it can be controversial. Well, it is, not that it can be. So those who are materially attached to women, sense gratification, and then this point that those who are generally engaged in the welfare of all, who are not attached to children and family, are called Mahatmas. So Mahatma, Maha, great, Atma, soul. So the great souls who dedicate themselves for the benefit of the entire human society, they generally forego personal family life, or even if they're within family life, their attachment is to the Supreme Lord and therefore to the entire family of living beings. So that's what makes them great souls. If I'm just concerned about me and my immediate family and immediate community, I may do nice things for them, but the circumference of my interest is quite small. But if I increase that radius of compassion, of service, that makes one a great soul. So children are wonderful and they should be given all opportunities to develop spiritually and materially. But it is said elsewhere by Rishabhadev, don't become a parent, don't become a guru, don't become a teacher, don't become a leader if you cannot deliver your dependents from the cycle of birth and death. So there's actually qualifications to become a leader, a teacher, a guru, that you can liberate those who are depending on you. Those who are engaged in sense gratification, who act piously or impiously, cannot understand the purpose of the soul. Therefore, they should approach a highly elevated devotee and accept him as a spiritual master. By his association, one will be able to understand the purpose of life. Under the instructions of such a spiritual master, one can attain devotional service to the Lord. Detachment from material things and tolerance of material misery and distress. One can then see all living entities equally, and one becomes very eager to know about transcendental subject matters. So the subject of guru is important. We have to learn under a devotee. And for knowledge to be transferred, then there has to be a spirit of submission, a willingness to be guided. It is something like if I come to you with a glass full of water and I ask you to please give me water, then because the glass is full, the ability to receive more water is lost, because whatever is being poured into that glass will simply spill over. So it happens that we have acquired prejudices and acquired biases because of acquiring this material body and mind, and we are socialized in certain ways and we are educated in certain ways, and therefore we have a type of worldview that when we approach a spiritual authority, a teacher, that these acquired prejudices and biases and conditionings, they resist being adjusted. So that is the challenge of accepting a spiritual master, is that we'll have to be submissive, inquire, render service, and then be ready to allow the teacher to help us adjust our conditioning and ultimately clear it. So, a very important principle. One can then see all living entities equally, I repeat that, and one becomes very eager to know about transcendental subject matters. Endeavoring persistently for the satisfaction of Krishna, one becomes detached from wife, children, and home. He is not interested in wasting time. In this way, one becomes self realized. A person advanced in spiritual knowledge does not engage anyone in material activity, and one who cannot deliver another person by instructing him in devotional service should not become a spiritual master, father, mother, demigod, or husband. Yeah, that's that verse I was talking about earlier. So, instructing his 100 sons, Lord Rishabhadev advised them to accept their eldest brother, Bharat, as their guide and Lord, and thereby serve him. So you can note this Bharat, the planet itself was named after him. He was such a great personality. So Earth is also known as Bharatvarsha. So after King Bharat, it was named. So even the brothers had to accept their eldest brother as an authority and guide. So it is the culture of spiritual life to reciprocate service. The senior shows compassion, gives knowledge, protects. The equals, they show friendship and have mutual discussions about spiritual life. The juniors, they show respect and receive instructions from the seniors. And they offer service. So service from the seniors, service from the equals, and service from the juniors. It's always flowing back and forth. Of all living entities, the Brahmanas are the best. And above the Brahmanas, the Vaishnavas are situated in an even better position. Serving a Vaishnava means serving the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Thus, Shukadev Goswami describes the characteristics of Bharat Maharaj and the sacrificial performance executed by Lord Rishabhadev for the instruction of the general populace. So, Vaishnava, Vaishnava means a servant of Vishnu. Vishnu is Krishna. So God, being unlimited, also has unlimited names, which describe his unlimited qualities. So in this chapter, we are dealing with the instructions coming from the Supreme Lord in his Shakti Avesh incarnation. And he's discussing instructions to his 100 sons so that they can lead in God consciousness. So if you've just joined us, thank you for joining us. Welcome. We will open it up for some questions, and I see Kulufelo has a question. Hare Krishna. My question is in relation to the King Rishabhadev's instruction to his sons, where he is instructing his sons to respect and treat the first son as Lord. Please explain why he gave this instruction. And does that mean that the first son, on virtue of being born first, he must automatically assume leadership of the family? Is this an instruction that should apply in our current family lives? Hare Krishna. Thank you for that beautiful question. Yes, there's different duties allotted to the different children in a family, and laws of heredity, laws of inheritance, they are given according to what there's a scripture called Manu Samhita, which is like laws by Manu. And you can make the correlation. Manu, mankind in Sanskrit, is Manushya. He's the forefather of humanity. And Bharat, being the eldest, meant that he had to shoulder the responsibility of keeping the traditions of the family. And for smooth execution of that family business, then there must be an authority. And that authority is given to the eldest son. And that is why he is addressed as Lord. Because of Judeo-Christianity, generally we hear this name Lord, and it may be attributed or associated with God. But we see that it's a title also the British have given. You find even in the courts, the judge is called Your Lordship. So yes, Bharat was given that role. And we see that that same culture is still being observed practically all over the planet, because Vedic culture is the culture of the earth planet. And in this case, Bharat Maharaj was an emperor of the planet, and even the planet was named after him. So these cultural norms and traditions, they all sort of have a connection, because we're all on the same island, the same rock of earth planet. In Africa, that's going on. The eldest son, he becomes like the proxy for the father. He takes up head of the family once the parents are no longer there. And in any ceremonies, there's a special place that and special duties to be executed by the firstborn son. So yes, this is why this is going on. And Rishabhadev is also demonstrating that one should not be attached to power perpetually. We have a problem in Africa where leaders don't want to let go of power, that they want to be in a position of power until their dying breath. Currently, Eswatini is having some issues that the people, they want some changes in terms of how the country is governed and managed. And one point comes up, if the monarchy has been there for practically like 30 to 40 years, and everything has been completely under his control, you can imagine the difficulty he'll have to let go of such power. So it said, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Only Krishna, who is the source of all power, can deal with absolute power because it is not something that is imposed on him. It is his actual nature. But a tiny living being, once they have power, it tends to go to the head. And Rishabhadev, he ruled, and then at a certain time in his life, he understood, now I have to focus on spiritual development because he will not live in this body perpetually. So he was ready to give up the kingdom. It is said, just like one gives up stool after passing, one should be able to walk away from such positions of power. But before going, he had to empower his sons by giving them knowledge. So let us see if any other comments or question is there. What then happens to the women in this case? Where do they fit in these instructions? This is a very wonderful question, 108 Live Radio. The women are the custodians of the culture in that they raise the children, they raise the kings, they raise the nation. And for them, their protection is paramount. The culture says that, when the ladies are young, they have to have a father figure to protect. And then when they become married, then they are being protected by the presence of a husband. Of course, these should be persons also who are spiritually sound, to not only protect the body and mind, but to protect the soul. And the king is protecting all the citizens. But after marriage, if they are sons, then they look after the welfare of the women. The women protect society by maintaining religious principles, by passing them on in the family. And generally, because, and this was expressed by Prabhupada, he said that I have a problem. He said that I want all my male disciples to remain celibates, and I also want all my women disciples to get married. And because he was trying to push on the movement worldwide, he needed men who could free up energy to dedicate that to travel and preach, take up the challenges in that direction. But then also Prabhupada discovered the gold mine that when couples went together to preach, they were also giving each other shelter and strength. That a lot of the movement was spread by married couples. So women and men carry different energies, different potencies, and if they are together under the conditions of religious, spiritual marriage, then they can help each other to do many, many things. So in light of the king leaving the kingdom and leaving the eldest son in charge, then just as the king was protecting everyone, like the father of the nation, then the eldest brother is meant to protect everyone and see also to the protection of women. In today's world, it's a bit different that even this word that women require protection can be seen as offensive. But it requires some understanding of what is feminine and masculine energies, what is the harmony, what is the power and strength of men, what is the power and strength of women, what is the power of both, when they collaborate. And to ascertain that, one has to rise from the influence of material nature, ignorance, and passion. One has to come to the mode of goodness, and one can be clear and sober to understand the interrelations. Thank you for the answer. Does this apply if the firstborn is not male but is female? Certainly, in the different cultures, the tradition may be applied differently. Like sometimes there is a situation where no male children are available. Then what happens is that even though it is not the most suitable position for the women to lead publicly and instruct and guide, whether it's a tribe or a family or a nation, it is not the most suited place for that, because generally the power of the women is in guiding and leading, you know, you could say from the back or overtly or covertly. Which one is the covertly? And overtly is outside, covertly is, yes, means that power is running in the very fabric of society. But then when it's put in front, then it's not the most suitable. But when there's no sons, then yeah, the women can lead, but they generally will be taking advice from some senior relatives, some spiritual authorities, because the natures are different. The natures are different, and they respond differently. For example, these days there's a discussion on giving some paid some places for ladies when they are expecting a child. And so some companies will feel that women are a liability because they have to take all that time off work to go through the pregnancy and then take care of the child early. But that is necessary because that is how women are designed to contribute to society. They raise the children. So if you've created a lifestyle where they require finances to stay stable, then society has to provide those necessities. But now, in a situation of leadership where it would demand that you're always present, that there is not maybe monthly emotional turbulences that come naturally, which are normal, then women are kept from that high pressure in front leading position, and they lead in spaces where they are comfortable. So yes, women, in case where there's no older son, can lead, taking advice and guidance from elders. But all of it depends on training, because whether man or woman, without being trained how to be a human being, what to speak of a spiritualist, everyone is disqualified to lead. Bongisipo, how does the caste system prevent people who are unqualified from assuming positions of power in society? How does the caste system prevent people who are unqualified from assuming positions of power in society? In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna discusses, you could say, the natural occurrence of divisions of power. He says, Shatuvanyam Maya Shristam Guna Kama Vibhagasa. That how we classify people according to occupations and divisions like that is based on guna and karma. What is the qualities of the person and what is the activities of a person? So when one understands and studies the nature and qualities of a person, then you can understand where they are suited to be. Uh, just like today, a big problem is that there's a university system that maybe requires everyone to go through academic education, where you find that some people may be suited to learning some technical skill. And if they cannot cut it through the university program of academics, then it seems like they're useless. So within this Vedic caste system, which is legitimate, that Krishna established, which is called Varna Ashram, Varna social orders, Ashram spiritual orders, then there are different duties which one has to demonstrate qualification by training. Then we can see that this person is not priestly. We can see this person is not a leader, this person is not business minded, based on their qualities and their activities. So then in that way, we can avoid wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Nomsa. How can we implement these teachings in our lives and our society, especially political, social, and in business? Very big and important question. Yes, we have to ourselves become familiar with these teachings and enter into these spaces. And so it's important to offer this education, especially high schools, universities, so that the different students who are about to branch off into different departments have imbibed the spiritual focus which human life is meant to have. And then within each field, whether business, politics, um, science, agriculture, then they can always see the central conception is that everything is an emanation of the Supreme Person. And then there, it's unfortunate that, the way society is sort of shaped, secular as it is, and a bit of an allergy to spiritual and religious instruction in the workplaces and such, that it may not be as fluid to go and give this information directly in those spaces. But it's said that example is better than precept. So the way we conduct ourselves, how we speak, and the principles that we embody, they can speak as to what influences us in terms of our values. And we should get these books, these spiritual literatures like Bhagavad Gita, Shrimad Bhagavatam, and we should gift people, we should sell them to people, we should market them online and create awareness of this knowledge that gives spiritual values. And then in that way, when people have taken that on board, they can take it with them into whatever career path or whatever area of activity that they function in, and so in society. And Prabhupada, who brought all this wisdom out into the Western world, time and time again pointed out that Krishna consciousness is like a cutting edge that touches on sociology, politics, and science, and philosophy, art, music. It is able to inform every sphere of life and put that spiritual spotlight on the reality that people are experiencing. So let us do our part to imbibe this knowledge. And I want to just again say you're more than welcome, anyone who watches, to join us every Thursday for Books Are the Basis. It's a book club, and it is taking shelter of spiritual wisdom, which is timeless, and looking at our lives, looking at the world, and seeing how we can apply such wisdom in our lives. So stay tuned. Every day except Thursday, there is someone who is reading on this platform at WUSA 108, Facebook and YouTube. And take part, put your questions forward, and then on Saturdays we'll come through. I'll come through and also try to respond to them. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Signing out, Xavier the Monk from WUSA House in Johannesburg. This is also a very beautiful session coming up. We're looking in November, 13th of November, we have this Kavya Corner Poetry Workshop. Please visit www.wusa.online. Go to the Arts and Crafts at House of WUSA, link at the bottom, register and take part. We are inviting very wonderful guests, both secular, and in the devotional circles. It's very, very informative, where we enter into this knowledge in a creative space and in a poetic way. It promises to be fantastic. So you are invited for that.